The Ring Thing by me, Bryant Oden. Illustrated by Alexander Woodward. Let me begin by making it clear, every word's true that you're going to hear. Way back when it happened, I made a vow to keep it a secret, and I have, until now. But it finally feels like this is the time to share with the world this strange tale of mine. Be warned, once you've heard it, that can't be undone. So, if you dare, here's chapter 1. What happened that day might be hard to believe, but I have no reason to try to deceive. So take this as fact or take it as fiction. That's up to you. My only mission is to tell you my story, if you want to hear it. It's not really scary, no reason to fear it. But I'll warn you now that I can't guarantee it won't happen to you what happened to me. Before I change my mind, I guess I should start to open this secret I've held in my heart. But how should I start? Where should I begin? I guess that it's best if I just jump right in. I was spending the day at a nice sunny beach. I was eating my lunch, a PBJ and a peach. And my dog Mojo was sniffing nearby, probably hoping for some half-eaten pie. With his nose near the sand and a wag in his tail, he soon seemed to be pretty hot on a trail. He circled a spot, he barked once, and then he dug a little, and then dug again. He kept on digging for quite a while, and behind him the sand that he dug formed a pile. The pile it grew, and the hole it got deeper, but would he find something that was a real keeper? That's what I wondered as I sat and stared. I guess, truth be told, I wasn't prepared for just what would happen before very long. I thought he would not find a lot. I was wrong. He dug even harder. His tail went full swing. I wondered what all of his effort might bring. A few times he barked, which was pretty rare. I was getting more eager to see what was there. Was it some trash that the wind would just blow? Or an old bone from forever ago? Or buried treasure in an old pirate chest? Of all of the options, that one seemed best. I heard the car honk, a 5-minute warning, and we had no plans to come back the next morning. It's now or never, and never's too slow. So I moved next to Mojo, and I gave it a go. Yes, I started digging. I mean, wouldn't you? Who wants to give up before you are through? The hole it kept growing, but still nothing found. Just sand and more sand and this hole in the ground. The car honked again. We had to quit. Time for just 3 final scoops from the pit. The first scoop was empty. The second one too. What happened the third scoop? That's chapter 2. So let me just say, before jumping back in, I said it before, but I'll say it again. It's still not too late to turn off the sound, to drop this whole thing, to just shut it down. 'Cause this is the part where things start to get strange. And if that's not your style, you don't need to change. Just stop right here. Just consider it through. I won't think any lesser of you. Not giving up? Not quitting yet? There's some adventure inside you, I bet. Okay, no more stalling. Let's get on with the show. I'll reach for that beach in my mind. Here I go. So on that third scoop, the very last dig, my hands hit an object, not very big. I scraped off the sand, put a hand on each side. Did I lift it right out? Believe me, I tried. But it just wouldn't budge, although it was small. The car honked again, not much time at all. I probably had less than a minute to run to the car and be buckled in it. Mojo was barking, his eyes bright and glistening. Are you really sure you want to keep listening? I scooped out more sand, and when it seemed ready, I gave it a pull, slow, smooth, and steady. This time, success. I got it out. I brushed off the sand and then lost any doubt. What I held in my hands was a sight to behold, a small wooden box that was centuries old. It had an old rusty latch with an old rusty lock, so rusted I trusted it would break with one knock. There wasn't much time to think it all through. Should I open it now? Well, what would you do? The car horn honked longer. The pressure was growing. What was inside? Just one way of knowing. I pulled on the lock and click, it undid. I felt pretty strong and smart for a kid. I looked around and no one was near. Besides me and Mojo, the coast was clear. I slipped off the lock, which mostly was rust. I unlatched the latch, which crumbled to dust. I took a big breath with my hand on the lid. If you're wondering if I felt nervous, I did. I can't wait to tell you what happened next. Well, yes, I can. Chapter 3 has that text. Should you keep listening? That's for you to decide. But if you do, remember I tried to give you fair warning 3 times or more. You're welcome to leave. Feel free. There's the door. You haven't stopped yet? Do you not understand? It wasn't just nothing I found in the sand. It changed my whole life. It was something that big. It wasn't just sand in that box in that dig. It opened my eyes, and it opened them wide, this old wooden box and what was inside. Not anything bad, that's not what I mean, but it changes a world, once more of it seen. So you've made your choice? Then without delay, I'll tell you what happened on that fateful day. It's still crystal clear, it doesn't feel far, on the beach with the box hearing honks from the car. What was inside? I just had to know. I lifted the lid, all cautious and slow, and then I saw just what was in there, a strange double ring and a flat tin square. The ring, it was golden, shiny and bright, in perfect condition, a beautiful sight. Unlike any ring that I'd ever known, it was more like 2 rings, but together sewn, so that 2 of your fingers would be ringed side by side. If ringed is a word, if not, well, I tried. Have you ever seen a 2-finger ring? I never had, a strange-looking thing. Please don't roll your eyes or call me a fool, but both of those rings, they each had a jewel. The jewels were sparkly, the gold was like new, though I've never seen a new gold ring, have you? I know it's a stretch to just take my word. I know you might think that this all sounds absurd. If you want to stop now, I wouldn't blame. I wouldn't judge you or call you a name. In fact, I'm still not completely convinced I should tell anyone, as you've probably sensed. I mean, this ring thing, it was one of a kind, and the jewels I mentioned, they did much more than shine. What did they do? Well, I'm getting to that, but describing the ring is now where we're at. One step at a time, that seems to work best. So I'll finish this part, then we'll get to the rest. The 2 sparkly jewels, one green and one red, were roughly the size of a grasshopper head. I know not the best way to give you their size, but better than if I had said dead horseflies. So a ring that was 2 rings, and each with a gem. I had never seen jewels as sparkly as them. How could this ring be so perfectly clean, when it was buried for so long, I mean? In a box in the sand along the shore? I don't have an answer, but wait, there's still more. I used to think magic came from a store. Not anymore. Here's chapter 4. Okay, chapter 4. Let's jump right in. Remember I mentioned that thin piece of tin? Well, it was engraved with writing so small, I had to squint close just to read it all. I read it through quite quickly, and then I read it more slowly, then read it again. The writing was fancy, like a nice invitation, and here is precisely the exact quotation. This ring has been found and worn countless times, by kings and by queens at the peak of their primes, by sailors and seamstresses, pipers and priests, all over the world, from the west to the east. Before you wear it, you must agree. In 7 sunsets you will set it free, No matter how greatly you want it to keep, you must pledge to return it by your 7th night's sleep. Return it to soil, or return it to sand, return it to sea, or return it to land. It has found many finders, and many to come. Enjoy your brief turn till that last setting sun. They say finders keepers, and this time that's you. But sometimes the finder finds keeping untrue. If these words are a fog, do not blame this writer. Soon you'll be feeling a little bit lighter. A few final words, a little advice. Read them once closely and then read them twice. Just 'cause a butterfly lands on your shoulder, that doesn't give you the right to hold her, trapped in a jar, for as long as you want. For you to show off and carry and flaunt. When she chooses your shoulder, just enjoy that gift. And then when she's ready, allow her to lift. You can't cage a rainbow, you can't cage the sun. You can't cage the feeling of love from someone. You can't cage the joy of a blue ocean's day, and those who would try soon find only gray. But those who don't grasp or try to restrain, those who enjoy and don't try to gain, they know the secret that's not hard to name. Let each butterfly go and be grateful it came. A lot of words on that thin piece of tin, at least a few hundred, give or take 10. The car honked 3 times. I had to move fast. I put the box in my backpack just as a wave splashed. We ran to the car, Mojo and me. He kept sniffing my backpack curiously. Then in the car, Mojo just stared. Lucky for me, it seemed no one cared. I had no idea what that ring would do. Probably nothing, that was most likely true. But such a strange box, and then such strange words. The ring was strange too. Did strange things come in thirds? And just how did Mojo know it was there? And why did he want it? Why did he care? So many questions and such a long drive, and I couldn't wait for us to arrive. We finally got home. I went straight to my room. I got out the box, as you might assume. I opened the lid. I felt so alive. What happened next? Well, that's chapter 5. Chapter 5. Here's where you hear just what the ring did. This is the secret that so long I hid. So I'll ask you again, would you rather just quit? I think I'd prefer that you did, I admit. I see you're still with me. I see you're still here. There's no stopping some people when what they want is clear. So here we go. Now it gets real. But you've been well warned, at least that's how I feel. So there we were in my room, just Mojo and me, and this strange box we had found at the sea. The box, it was open. The ring was breathtaking. I reached out my hand, which was slightly shaking. I picked up the ring, held it tight in my hand, a bit scared to wear it, and maybe you understand. I had no idea just what the ring was, and I just wasn't sure if I'd like what it does. But I had to find out, so why not today? Here goes nothing, I said. Then I put it away. Yes, I lost my nerve. Yes, I felt a scare. It's easy to judge when you weren't even there. And then I took a deep breath and I grabbed it again. I said, it's now or never. It's time to begin. Then I put the ring on, so slow and steady. Here's what happened next. Are you sure that you're ready? Okay, here we go. But please don't blame me if it changes your view of the world we see. So here comes some magic. Here comes some zingers from this ring I now wore upon 2 of my fingers. At first I didn't see anything magic. I felt disappointed. It was practically tragic. Both of the gems were sparkling bright, one green and one red, almost like a stoplight. Without even thinking, I touched the red. Nothing much happened, but I haven't misled. Because after that, well, I touched the green. Now here's where the story gets a bit less routine. It's almost time for a chapter break, so you won't be surprised if now I take this final chance for a final reminder. I know it's annoying, but I mean it much kinder. It's your last chance to choose, to leave things right here. And again, I don't mean there's something to fear. But so far, all I've said, it follows the rules of all of the science they teach you in schools. But not anymore. Now things get weird, so don't judge me harshly if I have steered you too many times towards calling this done. It takes courage to let what you've learned be undone. What happened next, it's pretty amazing. Some might even say it's hair-raising. As you'll soon see, this ring had some tricks. Want to know what they were? Well, that's chapter 6. Okay, here we go, right where we left off. I had just touched the green gem. Please try not to scoff. Please don't think I'm joking or call me a liar, at least not till you've heard my story entire. Will you believe me? I doubt that you will, but I became lighter, and then lighter still. The chances you'll think this is true are remote, but I started to lift. Then I started to float. Not far off the floor, but it gave me a fright that was mixed with a lot of delight. That's really quite plenty. Thank you so much. Now I'm ready to land, please. What do I touch? Yes, I was scared, I won't deny. If I did, that would be this story's first lie. I know it sounds fun to just float around, but I didn't know how to get back on the ground. I wanted to land and gather my wits, just for a minute, not to call it quits. I touched the green emerald and floated up more. Then I touched the red ruby and came down to the floor. You see how it worked? Simple, in fact. It wasn't hard for the code to be cracked. I smiled a smile like I never had. If I could control it, to float wasn't bad. I again touched the emerald, and slowly I rose. I again touched the ruby, and then my toes landed as softly as a feather in wind. Then more mini lessons, and then more again. I learned something new with each of my tries. The more I touched green, the faster I'd rise. The more I touched red, the faster I'd sink, back down to the ground pretty smoothly, I think. And if I just wanted to hover in air, not climbing or sinking, but just floating there, it wasn't too hard with some green then quick red. Not rising, not falling, just weightless instead. I was pleased with my progress, an advanced beginner. But I had to stop. It was now time for dinner. I put the box in my pack, but not the ring. It was too special a thing not to bring. So I took it off and put it deep in my pocket. That seemed the best choice. I had no place to lock it. I couldn't stop smiling. I was almost in heaven. I could float in the air. Could I fly? Chapter 7. Dinner dragged on. I just couldn't wait to get back to my lessons. I wolfed down my plate. Well, not my plate. I wolfed down my meal. If you had just floated, how would you feel? Then I reached for the ring. I wish I'd been stronger. Are you really sure that you could wait longer? Well, I tried and failed. My patience was gone, so under the table I put the thing on. But I won't touch the green. At least that's what I thought. Do you think that I followed my plan? I did not. I was just too excited to follow that rule, so just for a second I touched the green jewel. I started to rise, up out of my seat. The wrong time, the wrong place for such a neat feat. I held on to the table to not float away. It was time to touch red, but to my dismay, I touched the wrong gem, the same one as before, and that made me lift off my chair even more. I started to panic. I was almost unglued, but no one yet noticed they were eating their food. Except for old Mojo, who was wagging his tail, sniffing and staring and watching me flail, till I touched the ruby and gently came down. Then I took off the ring, no more clowning around. I put it back in my pocket, and that's where it stayed till dinner was over, a long time, I'm afraid. But then I was free to once more explore the strange double ring behind my closed door. It was time for more lessons. They were so fun, though I did bump my head on the ceiling in one. I learned to do flips in the air, wouldn't you? Forward flips, backward flips, sideways flips too. It was soon time for bed, and I knew for a fact that I'd never sleep unless I made a pact with myself that I wouldn't wear that ring at night. It was really so tempting, but I knew I was right. So I put the ring back in its box and put that in my backpack under some socks, and that was my pillow that night while I slept. That way I knew it was quite safely kept. Then I fell asleep with dreams of the sky, of Mojo and me and my ring flying high. As for flying for real, sorry I'm late, but that's not chapter 7. That's chapter 8. I woke up early and jumped out of bed, with pictures of flying filling my head. I put the ring in my pocket, but kept my hand out. No point in risking me floating about. I ate breakfast in no time, eager for more time with my ring, that's what it was for. Mojo kept staring, he knew what I had. It was him who had found it, so I felt kind of bad. I gave him a snack and a rub of his belly. You sure are a good boy, though sometimes kind of smelly. Thank you for finding the coolest thing that could ever be found. Then I whispered, the ring. Then we went outside. There was no one around. A nice gentle breeze was the only real sound. I put on the ring and said, this is it. Then I touched green, a bit scared, I'll admit. I lifted 10 feet. That was plenty for now. 1 step at a time seemed enough to allow. Then I touched red, once and then twice, till I was just floating steady and nice. Then the emerald again, up more and more. Mojo was watching as close as before. Higher and higher, maybe 300 feet. An incredible feeling. Nothing else could compete. Now I could see people way down below, but they didn't see me. Why? I don't know. They might have been texting while they were walking, or on the phone with somebody talking. Not many look up when they go through their day, but just maybe the ring somehow made it that way. But Mojo sure saw. He watched like a hawk, except the hawk was me, that's if hawks could talk. I looked down again, and my stomach felt funny. I was up in the clouds, except it was sunny. Time to go down, easy and smooth. The ruby worked perfect, it really did soothe. Soon I had landed, with a great big relief. This ring thing we found was beyond belief. I was excited and shaky, but fine. What about flying? Well, that's chapter 9. I sat on the grass, giving Mojo a pet. The very best dog that I ever met. When I heard a meow from up to the right, a kitten was stuck on a pole, a sad sight. Well, what would you do if you had this ring, and a kitten was stranded? You'd save the poor thing. So I touched the emerald, and once more I climbed. Saving that kitten was most on my mind. Rising was easy, No problem there. I was getting quite good at this floating in air. But how to move forward? I thought, why not swim? So I acted like water was what I was in. And somehow it worked, though don't ask me why. I swam to that kitten, and away I did fly. Not very graceful and not very fast, but I managed to get to that kitten at last. I picked it up, and I held it tight, and then I touched Red, and we came down all right. The kitten was scared, but I think it knew I was making it safe that first time that I flew. In no time at all, we were back on the ground. It looked in my eyes, and then it jumped down. It walked up to Mojo. They both said hi. They touched noses once, then it meowed goodbye. It walked through a fence back to its yard. To get down alone, that would have been hard. Did it learn its lesson? Well, that's left unknown. But hey, in a way, you could say I had flown. I thought to myself as I sat by Mojo, this ring thing could change my whole world, you know? I could keep it forever. This ring, it's now mine. For the rest of my life, I could float on cloud 9. I'll use it for fortune. I'll use it for fame. I'll use it so everyone's heard of my name. And I'll be a hero and I'll be a star, loved and admired from near and from far. I got so excited. I got so engrossed. Engrossed means that this was what I thought of most. Then Mojo somehow unzipped the backpack and pulled out the box and then nudged my back. I turned and I looked. He had opened the lid. Sometimes I think dogs can be smarter than kids. So there I was, staring right at the tin, and then these 4 lines caught my eyes again. Before you wear it, you must agree. In 7 sunsets you will set it free. No matter how greatly you want it to keep, you must pledge to return it by your 7th night's sleep. I said, no way. No one can make me. Just think how far this ring thing could take me. Why can't I keep it? I found it. It's mine. To say that it's not, well, that's crossing a line. Finders keepers, hey, it's the law. Or if it's not the law, then the law has a flaw. You can't make me return it, and you can't demand when. It's mine forever. Now the last chapter, 10. The ring, it was mine. My mind, it was made. I would make sure in my tight fist it stayed. I had decided there was no turning back, except that my plan hit just one little crack. A butterfly landed, right there and then, on Mojo's nose, right on the end. Mojo just sat there and looked in my eyes, his tail full of wag, his eyes full of wise. And then before long, that butterfly flew off to a flower, and somehow I knew that was the way that the ring should be, too. To claim it as mine, that just didn't ring true. I took a deep breath and gave Mojo a pet. I said, okay, boy, I'm in your debt. I don't own this ring. It's just with us a while, bringing me joy and such a big smile. We have it a week. Let's cherish each day. And then comes the time when we'll give it away. Like the box says, we must give it back. We'll hide it somewhere where nobody can track. Then sooner or later, someone else gets the gift of finding this box and getting that lift. How's that sound, Mojo? He quick licked my face. Then he brought me a ball so we could play chase. Oh, what adventures we had those next days. Maybe I'll share them sometime. They'd amaze. I got better at floating and better at flying. Once Mojo flew with me, I'm not even lying. But I think for now it's time to wrap up the story of me, the ring, and my pup. I'm glad you stuck with it. I'm glad that you know. So just one last thing before we go. That box with the ring? Well, it's out there somewhere. Where did I hide it? Now that I can't share. But someone will find it, and if that person's you, remember these words on the 10, 'cause they're true. A few final words, a little advice. Read them once closely and then read them twice. Just 'cause a butterfly lands on your shoulder, that doesn't give you the right to hold her. Trapped in a jar for as long as you want, for you to show off and carry and flaunt. When she chooses your shoulder, just enjoy that gift. And then when she's ready, allow her to lift. You can't cage a rainbow. You can't cage the sun. You can't cage the feeling of love from someone. You can't cage the joy of a blue ocean's day. And those who would try soon find only gray. But those who don't grasp or try to restrain, those who enjoy and don't try to gain, they know the secret that's not hard to name. Let each butterfly go and be grateful it came. Yes, they know the secret that's not hard to name. Let each butterfly go and be grateful it came.